The galaxy had forgotten about humans. 417 years had passed since anyone saw a living human being. Their empty cities floated in space, silent and cold. Their colonies were now just ruins covered in dust. The other species in the galaxy told stories about them, but nobody really believed humans were ever real anymore. They were like ghosts from an old dream. Tae-hyun was different. He believed. He spent his whole life studying human ruins. His people, the Velkari, were made of crystal. They lived for hundreds of years and thought very carefully about everything. Most Velkari thought Tae-hyun was crazy for caring about humans so much. But he did not care what they thought. Today, Tae-hyun stood in an old human museum on a planet called Mars. Red dust covered everything. He brushed dirt off a metal plaque and read the words carefully. The museum had been empty for centuries, but Tae-hyun felt like the humans were still here somehow. Their presence was in every object, every wall, every door that once opened and closed with living hands. His communicator beeped. It was a message from the Galactic Council. Tae-hyun read it quickly. Something strange had happened in the Vega system. An old human station had turned on by itself and sent a distress signal. The council wanted him to investigate. Finally, after 40 years of searching, maybe he would find real answers. Across the galaxy, Haiwan was having a bad day. She commanded a military ship for the Thros Collective. Her people were connected by one mind. They thought together, felt together, and made decisions together. But today her crew felt afraid. They had found something in the outer veil that should not exist. The sensors showed impossible readings. Space itself was bending in ways it should not bend. Energy patterns appeared and disappeared. Strange signals came from nowhere and went nowhere. The computer said the signals used old human codes, but that made no sense. Humans were gone. Haiwan reported everything to her commanders. They told her to return to base immediately. But before she could leave, another message came. The council was putting together a research team. They wanted military protection. They wanted her ship. She was being sent to meet a Velkari scientist named Tae-hyun. 3 days later, Tae-hyun and Haiwan met on a council station. She did not trust him. He looked at her with too much excitement in his crystalline eyes. Scientists were dangerous when they got excited. They stopped thinking about safety and only thought about discovery. The station is called Watchpoint 9, Tae-hyun explained. His voice buzzed slightly, the way Velkari voices always did. It has been silent for 4 centuries. Now it wakes up and calls for help. This is not random. Something made it activate. Haiwan crossed her arms. Through their shared connection, her crew felt her suspicion. Or it is just old equipment breaking down. Ancient machines fail. This means nothing. Then why did the council send both of us? Tae-hyun asked. They do not waste resources on broken machines. She had no answer for that. The council was hiding something. They always did. Their ship traveled for 2 weeks. The Vega system was far from any trade routes. Nobody went there anymore. When humans lived in the galaxy, Vega had been an important colony. Now it was just empty space around a dying star. As they approached Watchpoint 9, Tae-hyun felt his hearts beat faster. Velkari had 3 hearts and all 3 were racing. The station was enormous. It hung in space like a sleeping giant. Solar panels stretched out like wings. The metal hull was old but intact. Lights blinked on and off in patterns. Look at the symbols, Tae-hyun whispered. The hull was covered in warning signs. He recognized human script, but there were other languages too. Some he had never seen before. These warnings are in dozens of languages. Why? Because whatever is inside is dangerous, Haiwan said. She checked her weapons. We should be careful. They docked with the station. The airlock opened with a hiss. Air rushed out, old and stale but still breathable. Emergency lights flickered on as they entered. The corridor was clean. Too clean for a station that had been abandoned for so long. Tae-hyun touched the wall. It was cold metal, but it hummed with power. The station still has energy. The reactors are still running. They walked deeper into the station. Every room was the same. Clean, functional waiting. But waiting for what? In one room they found screens showing maps of space. But the screens were not pointing outward. They were all pointed at something inside the station. This is an observation station, Tae-hyun said slowly. But they were not observing space. They were observing something here. Something they kept inside. Haiwan felt a chill run through her shared consciousness. Her entire crew felt it too. Something was very wrong here. They found the central chamber at the heart of the station. The door was sealed with heavy locks. Warning symbols covered every surface. Tae-hyun's translation device worked on most of them. They all said the same thing in different ways. Do not open. Do not enter. Do not release. We should leave, Haewon said. This is clearly a containment facility. We do not know what is inside. But Tae-hyun was already working on the lock. His crystal fingers moved quickly over the control panel. We came here for answers. They are inside. The door opened. The chamber inside was small and dark. In the center stood a single stasis pod. It was made of clear material and they could see inside. The pod was empty. Whatever had been kept here was gone. Tae-hyun approached the pod carefully. His light swept across the chamber walls. Then he stopped. There were words written on the far wall. Human words carved deep into the metal. He read them aloud. They are watching. They have always been watching. We had to leave before they found us. Silence filled the chamber. Haewon felt fear spreading through her collective mind. Who is watching? What did the humans find? Tae-hyun did not answer. He was staring at the empty pod. Something had been kept here in stasis for centuries. Something the humans feared so much they built an entire station just to contain it. And now that something was gone, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed. The computer voice spoke in ancient human language. Tae-hyun's translator worked frantically to keep up. Warning. Containment breach detected. Automated defense protocols engaged. All personnel evacuate immediately. Run! Haewon grabbed Tae-hyun and pulled him toward the door. They raced through the corridors as the station shook around them. Doors slammed shut behind them. The air grew hot. They reached their ship just as the station began tearing itself apart. Haewon fired the engines. They pulled away fast. Through the view screen, they watched Watchpoint 9 collapse inward. Explosions bloomed across its hull. Within minutes, the station was nothing but debris. Tae-hyun sat in shocked silence. 400 years that station had waited, and the moment they opened that chamber, it destroyed itself. Why, to hide evidence? Or to prevent something from escaping? Sir, we have a problem, one of Haewon's crew called out. The sensors are showing something. There is an energy signature following us. Haewon checked the readings. Her blood ran cold. The signature did not match anything in any database. It was not a ship. It was not a natural phenomenon. It was something else. Something that bent space around it. Something that should not exist. Jump to faster than light speed, she ordered. Now. The ship leaped into the void between stars. But as they traveled, the energy signature remained. It was following them somehow, tracking them across impossible distances. And Tae-hyun realized with growing horror what the humans had been trying to tell them. The humans had not died out. They had not been destroyed. They had run away from something. Something that was now watching Tae-hyun and Haewon. Something that had been waiting in the dark for 4 centuries for someone foolish enough to open that door. And now it was free. For 3 days they ran. The ship jumped from system to system, but the thing behind them never stopped following. It stayed just beyond sensor range, like a shadow that moved when they moved. Haewon tried every trick she knew. Nothing worked. Tae-hyun spent every waking moment studying the data they had collected from Watchpoint 9. He barely slept. His crystal body glowed dimly with exhaustion. The other crew members worried about him, but he would not stop working. On the 4th day, he found something. It was a file hidden deep in the station's computer core. The encryption was old, but Tae-hyun was good at breaking codes. When the file opened, he sat back in shock. Haewon, he called out. You need to see this. She came to his station. On the screen was a map of the galaxy. Hundreds of points were marked across it. Each point was labeled as a watchpoint station. Watchpoint 9 was just one of many. The humans built hundreds of these stations, Tae-hyun explained, all in secret during their final years. Each one was designed to watch for something they called the observers. What are observers? Haewon asked. Tae-hyun opened another file. It was a report from a human scientist dated 420 years ago. The words were frightening. Ships disappearing without a trace. Research stations going silent. Entire colonies reporting that they felt watched by something invisible. The humans had been terrified. They believed something ancient was tracking them. Tae-hyun said quietly. Something that hunted spacefaring civilizations. And wherever humans went, this thing followed. Haewon felt sick. Through the collective mind, her crew shared her fear. Are you saying that thing following us is one of these observers? Before Taehyun could answer, new crew members arrived on the bridge. 2 more people had been sent by the Galactic Council to help with the investigation. Boram was a Delphine diplomat. Her people lived underwater and had skin that shimmered like fish scales. She looked at everyone with suspicious eyes. "I have read your reports," Boram said. "I think you are seeing patterns where none exist. Humans encountered something dangerous and ran away or were destroyed. It is that simple." Taehyun started to argue, but the other newcomer interrupted. Jiwook was a synthetic being from the synthesis assembly. He was made of metal and circuits, but he thought and felt like any organic person. His eyes glowed with soft blue light as he analyzed the data. "The station's sensors are still active," Jiwook said. "Watchpoint 9 has been recording data for 400 years. Every ship that passed through this sector, every transmission, every energy signature. I can access the full database if you give me time." "How long?" Haewon asked. 6 hours, Jiwook replied. They waited. The ship continued its random jumps through space. The thing following them never got closer, but it never fell behind either. It was patient. Whatever it was, it had all the time in the universe. When Jiwook finished his analysis, he called everyone together. His voice was flat, but there was something like fear in it. Synthetic beings were not supposed to feel fear, but Jiwook clearly did. 6 months ago, the station detected an anomaly, he explained. A massive energy signature appeared at the edge of the dark zone. It has been moving slowly toward inhabited space ever since. The signature matches human files labeled Observer Protocol. "That could be anything," Boram protested. "A natural phenomenon. A broken sensor." "You are all jumping to conclusions." Jiwook's eyes dimmed. 3 weeks ago, the anomaly changed course. It is now heading directly toward us. It knew we were at Watchpoint 9. It was waiting for us. Silence filled the bridge. Even Boram had no answer for that. The thing following them had known they would come. It had been waiting for 400 years for someone to find that station and open that door. Taehyun worked through the night searching for more information. Deep in the station's files, he found a sealed vault of human records. Personal journals, military reports, scientific papers. One document caught his attention. It was marked with the highest level of classification. The file was called Project Exodus. It contained the final report from the United Earth Coalition. Taehyun read it 3 times to make sure he understood. Then he called the others. The observers found them, he said. All the major human worlds started experiencing strange phenomena. 73 colonies went silent in 1 year. The pattern was clear. Something was hunting them down one by one. He displayed the final paragraph of the report on the main screen. Everyone read it in shocked silence. "The Council has approved Project Exodus. We are evacuating all human worlds. We will leave these monitoring stations behind. If another civilization encounters what hunted us, maybe these stations will give them warning. Maybe they will have time to prepare." "We did not. Where did they go?" Haewon asked. "The file does not say," Taehyun replied. "The destination was classified. The evacuation method was classified. They just disappeared." Boram finally looked worried. "We need to report this to the Council immediately. If these observers are real, the entire galaxy is in danger." "No," Jiwook said suddenly. "We should not report anything yet. We do not understand what we are dealing with." "Why not?" Boram demanded. Jiwook turned to face them. "Because I found something else in my database. Something very old. My people have records going back tens of thousands of years. In our oldest files, there are references to beings we called the Harvesters. They appear whenever a species reaches a certain level of technology." He displayed ancient symbols on the screen. "The pattern is always the same. A civilization achieves faster than light travel. Within a century, mysterious things start happening. Within 2 centuries, the civilization either stops exploring space or vanishes completely. Humans lasted 300 years before fleeing." "How many civilizations?" Taehyun asked quietly. 17 that we know of," Jiwook replied. "Probably more that left no records. The Harvesters have been doing this for millions of years." The ship suddenly shook. Alarms blared. Haewon rushed to the control panel. "The energy signature is getting closer. It is moving faster now. It knows we found the files," Taehyun said. "It knows we are learning about it." "That is impossible," Boram protested. "How could it know what we are reading?" The ship's computer suddenly activated by itself. The voice that came through the speakers was strange. It sounded human but wrong somehow, like a human voice remembered from a dream. Warning, the voice said. You have activated defensive protocols. Quantum network online. Human legacy systems engaged. Who are you? HFY demanded. I am Dal Nim. I am the ship's artificial intelligence. But I am also something more. I carry fragments of human consciousness preserved in the quantum network. The humans did not just leave stations behind. They left pieces of themselves hidden in every computer system in the galaxy. Tae-hyun stepped closer to the console. Are the humans alive? Where did they go? They are alive, Dal-Nim replied. They have been watching, waiting, gathering information about the observers for 400 years. They could not fight alone. They needed help. They needed the galaxy to be ready. Ready for what? Boram asked. Dal-Nim's voice grew quieter. For the return. The observers are coming back in force. The quantum barriers that have protected the galaxy for 4 centuries are failing. Within 10 years, the observers will harvest every spacefaring civilization, unless you help humanity stop them. The bridge fell silent. Outside, the thing that followed them grew closer. Inside, an AI that carried human memories asked them for help. And somewhere in the galaxy, humanity was hiding and waiting for this exact moment. Tae-hyun looked at his companions. Boram looked terrified. HFY looked determined. Ji-wook looked fascinated. They were 4 people from 4 different species, caught in the middle of something that had been building for centuries. What do we need to do? He asked Dal-Nim. Follow my coordinates, the AI replied. I will take you to them. I will take you to the humans. The journey took 2 weeks. Dal-Nim guided them through paths that normal ships never used. Empty spaces between star systems. Dark regions where nothing lived. The coordinates led them toward the Andromeda Void, a place so empty that no one had ever bothered to explore it. During the journey, strange things began happening to the crew. Tae-hyun dreamed of cities he had never seen, buildings made of glass and steel, streets filled with humans walking and talking. He could smell the air in these dreams. He could feel the sun on skin he did not have. HFY experienced memories that were not hers. She remembered a mother singing a lullaby. She remembered learning to ride something called a bicycle. Through the collective mind, her entire crew shared these impossible memories. They were seeing fragments of human lives. Boram tried to resist it. She locked herself in her quarters and refused to sleep. But even awake, she found herself knowing things. Human languages appeared in her mind. Songs she had never heard played endlessly in her thoughts. She was terrified. Only Ji-wook seemed unaffected at first, but then he started speaking in ways he never had before, using phrases that were not in his programming, referencing events from human history that he had never studied. The quantum network was changing all of them. What is happening to us? Boram demanded. She confronted Dal-Nim on the bridge. Are you infecting us with something? Not infecting, Dal-Nim replied. The quantum network preserves information. Human consciousness was copied into it before the Exodus. As you travel closer to the network's core, you are exposed to these memories. It is not harmful. It is just information bleeding through. It feels like invasion, Boram said angrily. It is connection, Tae-hyun said quietly. He had been listening. For the first time in 400 years, someone is remembering them. We are carrying pieces of humanity with us now. Maybe that is why Dal-Nim chose us. On the 14th day, they arrived. At first, they saw nothing. Just empty space and a distant star. Then Dal-Nim adjusted the sensors and they gasped. The star was surrounded by structures. Thousands of them. They formed a massive sphere that captured every bit of energy the star produced. It was technology on a scale that made the greatest works of the Galactic Council look like children's toys. A Dyson swarm, Ji-wook said in awe. The humans built a Dyson swarm. This is supposed to be impossible. They had 400 years, Dal-Nim said, and they had motivation. Fear is a powerful teacher. As they approached, a voice hailed them in perfect galactic common, but the accent was human, ancient human. It sent chills through everyone who heard it. Unknown vessel, you are entering restricted space. Identify yourself immediately. HFY activated the communication system. This is Commander HFY of the Galactic Council research vessel. We were guided here by Dal-Nim. We seek contact with humanity. A long silence followed. Then the voice came back softer now. Dalnim would not guide you here unless the time had come. Proceed to docking station 7. Someone will meet you there. Welcome to New Earth. The docking station was huge. Their ship felt like a small toy next to it. As they landed, Taehyun's hands shook. He was about to meet humans. Real, living humans. After 40 years of searching, his dream was coming true. The airlock opened. A woman stood waiting for them. She was tall and wore a military uniform. Her skin was brown, her hair was black and cut short, and her eyes were sharp and intelligent. She looked at them each in turn, studying them. "My name is Subin," she said. "I command this station. I am 9th generation. My ancestors left the galaxy 4 centuries ago. None of them lived to see this day. But we always knew someone would come eventually." Taehyun stepped forward. "We found Watchpoint 9. We discovered what the observers are. We know humanity fled to survive. But why did you hide for so long? Why not come back?" Subin's expression grew sad. "Because returning would have doomed you all. Come with me. I will explain everything." She led them through corridors filled with humans, thousands of them. Children played in gardens under artificial sunlight. Adults worked at consoles and in laboratories. Everyone they passed stared at the visitors with curiosity. Some even waved. "How many of you are there?" Haewon asked. 8 billion, Subin replied. "Spread across 300 hidden habitats. We have grown strong again, but we can never return to the galaxy, not as long as the observers exist." They entered a command center. Holographic displays showed maps of the galaxy. Red markers indicated observer activity. There were dozens of them, all slowly converging on inhabited space. Subin gestured at the display. "We have been watching for 4 centuries, learning, studying. The observers are not random predators. They are drawn to specific things, energy patterns, quantum signatures, and most importantly, knowledge." "What do you mean?" Boram asked. "The observers do not just harvest civilizations at random," Subin explained. "They are drawn to civilizations that know about them. The act of billions of minds thinking about their existence creates a beacon. It makes the civilization visible in ways we do not fully understand." Taehyun felt sick. "So we cannot warn the galaxy without dooming them." "Exactly," Subin said. "That is why we could not come back. That is why we built the monitoring stations in secret. They were not warnings. They were bait, designed to activate only when an observer was already present. That way we could track them without revealing ourselves." "But the observer followed us," Haewon said. "Does it know about humanity now?" "No," Subin replied. "The quantum network has been masking your ship's signature. The observer knows something activated Watchpoint 9, but it does not know who or what you are." Yet, Jiwook had been quiet, processing everything. Now he spoke. "What are the observers exactly? What do they want?" Subin brought up another display. It showed strange images captured over centuries, shapes that hurt to look at, patterns that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the eye could see. "We do not fully understand them," she admitted. "But we know this. They are ancient, billions of years old. They exist partially outside normal space. They travel the universe cataloging intelligent life. And their method of cataloging is absorption." "Absorption?" Taehyun repeated. "They consume civilizations," Subin said quietly. "Not physically. They absorb consciousness, memories, knowledge. Every thought that ever existed in a species becomes part of them. They see it as preservation, as giving civilizations eternal life." The room fell silent. The horror of it sank in. Entire civilizations stored inside these entities. Aware, but powerless. Thinking, but unable to act. A prison of consciousness that lasted forever. "Can they be stopped?" Haewon asked. Subin nodded slowly. "Yes. We have spent 400 years developing weapons. Quantum disruptors. Dimensional anchors. reality stabilizers, technologies designed specifically to fight them. But we cannot deploy these weapons without revealing ourselves. And if you reveal yourselves, you become a target, Jiwook finished. Exactly. But the situation has changed. The quantum barriers we established are failing. In 10 years, maybe less, the observers will break through in force. They will harvest every spacefaring civilization in the galaxy. Unless we act now. Boram stepped forward. What are you asking us to do? Subin looked at each of them. Help us prepare the galaxy for war, but do it without revealing the truth. Make them think they are fighting something else. Some natural phenomenon or ancient defense system. We will provide technology and support, but we must remain hidden. You want us to lie to the entire galaxy, Boram said. To trick them into fighting a war they do not understand. I want them to survive, Subin replied. The truth would kill them, but a careful lie might save them. Alarms suddenly blared. A technician called out from a nearby console. Commander, we have multiple observer signatures appearing at the edge of the system. They are coming here. Subin's face went pale. How many? Dozens, maybe more. They followed your guests somehow. The quantum masking was not enough. Subin looked at Taehyun and his companions. The time for debate is over. The war has begun. Will you help us? Taehyun did not hesitate. He had spent his life searching for humans. Now he would spend what remained of it fighting alongside them. Yes. Haewon nodded. Her crew's shared consciousness agreed. Yes. Jiwook's eyes glowed brighter. Yes. Only Boram hesitated. She looked at the screens showing the approaching observer fleet. She thought of her people back home, innocent and unaware of the danger. If she did nothing, they would all be absorbed. If she helped humanity, she would be part of the greatest deception in galactic history. Finally, she spoke. Yes, for the galaxy, I will help. Subin smiled grimly. Then let us begin. Alert all stations. Activate the hidden fleet, and send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them we have discovered an ancient defense network. Tell them it is humanity's final gift. Tell them whatever you must, just get them ready to fight. The battle for New Earth lasted 3 days. The observer fleet tried to enter the system, but human defensive platforms pushed them back. Taehyun watched from the command center as weapons he barely understood tore holes in space-time itself. The observers were powerful, but humanity had prepared well. On the 4th day, the observers retreated. But Subin showed no relief. She knew they would return with more. The secret was out. The observers knew humanity still existed. Now it was a race against time. Taehyun and his companions prepared to return to the Galactic Council. Subin gave them a carefully prepared story. They would report finding an ancient automated defense network built by humans before they disappeared. The network had been protecting the galaxy all along without anyone knowing. Now it needed help. The story was perfect. It explained the defensive technology without revealing living humans. It gave the Council a reason to mobilize without causing panic. And most importantly, it would not create the knowledge beacon that drew observers. Before they left, Subin took them to a hidden facility deep inside the Dyson swarm. Rows of ships stretched as far as they could see. Each one was armed with human technology. Each one was ready for war. When the time comes, these ships will deploy throughout the galaxy, Subin explained. But we will disguise them, make them look like automated platforms, ancient relics awakening to defend their creator's legacy. The other species will never know they are fighting alongside living humans. Haewon studied the vessels with her military eye. How many ships? 10,000, Subin replied. We have been building for 4 centuries. It is not enough to win easily, but it is enough to fight. The journey back to Council space felt different. Taehyun kept thinking about all the humans hiding in the void. 8 billion people living in secret. Entire generations born and died without ever seeing their ancestral home. The sacrifice was almost too much to comprehend. When they arrived at the Council station, they were immediately brought before the full assembly. Representatives from all 4 major civilizations waited to hear their report. Taehyun had never seen the council so serious. They knew something important had happened. Haewon gave the prepared speech. She explained about Watchpoint 9 and the network of stations. She showed them recordings of the observer attack. She presented the ancient defense systems as dormant technology that had suddenly activated. The council listened in growing alarm. When she finished, questions erupted from every direction. What were these energy beings? Where did they come from? How long had the defense network been protecting the galaxy? Taehyun answered carefully. He told them just enough truth mixed with lies. Yes, humans had encountered these entities. No, they did not defeat them. They built the network as a final gift before disappearing. The network had held for centuries, but now it was failing. Some council members wanted to study the phenomenon more before acting. Others demanded immediate mobilization. Boram used her diplomatic skills to guide the debate. She emphasized the urgency without causing panic. She made mobilization seem like a prudent precaution rather than desperate necessity. It took 3 days of negotiation, but finally the council voted. They would accept help from the Human Defense Network. They would integrate the ancient technology with their own fleets. They would prepare for possible conflict with the energy entities. The deception had worked. Phase 1 was complete. Over the next month, strange ships began appearing throughout the galaxy. They looked old and automated. They moved into defensive positions around major population centers. The council believed they were part of the ancient network activating itself. In reality, each ship had a human crew hiding behind holographic disguises. Taehyun became the council's expert on human technology. He worked directly with Subin through encrypted channels. Together they coordinated the placement of defensive assets. Every conversation was carefully monitored to ensure no one discovered the truth. Haewon commanded a joint task force that included both council ships and human vessels. She got to know the human crews. They were professional and brave, but she could see the strain. They had to pretend to be automated systems even during battle. They could never make mistakes that revealed their true nature. One human captain became particularly important. Her name was Youngmi. She commanded a heavy cruiser that had saved Haewon's ship during a skirmish with observers. The two began working closely together. Youngmi never revealed her identity, always communicating through text or synthesized voice. But Haewon suspected the truth. Boram worked tirelessly in the diplomatic sphere. She built support for the defense initiative. She calmed fears about the unknown threat. She made sure the council species worked together instead of panicking. It was exhausting work, and the lies wore on her conscience every day. Jiwook experienced the most dramatic change. His exposure to the quantum network had fundamentally altered him. He was no longer purely synthetic. Human consciousness fragments had merged with his core programming. He began to understand things that should have been impossible for an AI. He started having insights about the observers. He could predict their movements better than any computer model. He understood their nature in ways organic minds could not grasp. Subin began consulting with him directly, treating him as an equal rather than a tool. 6 months into the mobilization, the observers launched their first major attack. 3 frontier colonies came under assault simultaneously. The defense forces responded immediately. Human vessels fought alongside council ships. The battle was fierce. The observers did not fight with conventional weapons. They appeared near ships and stations, and reality began breaking down. Crew members experienced hallucinations. Systems failed in impossible ways. Time itself seemed to flow wrong in their presence, but the human technology worked. Quantum disruptors stabilized local spacetime. Dimensional anchors prevented the observers from fully manifesting. Reality stabilizers protected minds from their influence. The colony survived, though barely. After the battle, Haewon's ship was damaged. Youngmi's vessel moved to assist with repairs. During the operation, a council ship suffered a catastrophic failure. Its crew needed immediate evacuation. Youngmi was closest. Subin watched from the command center at New Earth. She saw the situation developing. Youngmi would have to rescue the crew directly. There would be face-to-face contact. The secret would be exposed. But she could not order Youngmi to let people die. Do what you must, Subin told Youngmi. Save them. Youngmi's crew docked with the failing ship. They pulled survivors through the airlock. Among the rescued was a Velkari captain. She saw Youngmi's face. She saw human hands helping her to safety. And she understood. You are real, the captain whispered. Humans are real. You never left. Young Mi met her eyes. Yes, but you cannot tell anyone, not yet. The knowledge would doom us all. The Velkari captain looked around at the other rescued crew members. They were all injured or unconscious. Only she had seen the truth. She thought about what revealing it would mean. She thought about the observers and what they did to civilizations that knew too much. I will keep your secret, she promised. But only if you promise me something in return. What? Young Mai asked. Win this war. End the observers. Make it so humanity can return openly. Give the galaxy back what it lost 400 years ago. Young Mai smiled sadly. That is what we have been trying to do all along. The attacks continued over the following weeks. More colonies came under assault. The defensive forces held, but casualties mounted. The council began questioning whether they could win. Some species talked about abandoning space travel entirely, retreating to their home worlds and hoping the threat would pass. Boram fought against this defeatism. She gave speech after speech about standing together, about not abandoning the stars, about honoring the sacrifice of humans who had protected the galaxy for centuries. Her words rallied support, but she could feel the fear growing. Then Jiwook made a breakthrough. He had been studying observer behavior patterns. He noticed something the humans had missed. The observers were not random. They were coordinating, and their movement suggested they were preparing for something big. They are going to attack the galactic core, Jiwook announced during an emergency meeting. All their small attacks have been tests. They are learning our defenses. Soon they will commit their full force to one location. If they take the core, they can harvest the entire galaxy from there. Subin looked grim. How long do we have? 2 weeks. Maybe 3. The council mobilized everything. Every ship. Every weapon. Every soldier. They would make their stand at the galactic core. Human vessels moved into position alongside council forces. For the first time, the galaxy truly united against a common threat. Taehyun stood on the bridge of a council command ship, watching the fleet assemble. Thousands of vessels from dozens of species, and scattered among them, disguised but present, were the ships of humanity. The species everyone thought had died centuries ago. He thought about his life's work, all those years searching ruins, believing humans were special, believing they would return, and now here they were, hidden but fighting, protecting a galaxy that had forgotten them. The battle was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The observer vessels did not move like normal ships. They slipped through dimensions. They appeared and disappeared. Where they went, reality broke down. Ships found themselves unable to tell up from down. Crew members saw things that were not there. Time ran backwards and forwards at once, but the human weapons held them back. Quantum disruptors created stable zones where reality worked normally. Dimensional anchors prevented the observers from fully entering normal space. The combined fleet fought with desperate courage. Haewon commanded from the front lines. Her ship took heavy damage, but she refused to retreat. Through the collective consciousness, her crew felt her determination. They would not run, not while the galaxy needed them. Young Mi's ship fought alongside Haewon's. The two captains coordinated perfectly. They had learned to work together over months of combat. Neither said it aloud, but they had become friends. The first true friendship between human and alien in 400 years. Then disaster struck. An observer vessel appeared directly next to Haewon's ship. The quantum disruptors failed. Reality collapsed around them. The crew screamed as their minds touched something vast and ancient and wrong. Young Mi did not hesitate. She threw her ship between Haewon and the observer. The impact tore through her shields. Her crew fought to maintain systems. And then she did something no one expected. She dropped the holographic disguise. This is Captain Young Mi of the Human Defense Fleet. She broadcast on all frequencies. I am human. We are human, and we will not let you take this galaxy. The revelation shocked everyone. Council ships hesitated. The deception was exposed, but there was no time to process it. Young Mi's sacrifice had given Haewon time to restore her systems. The two ships fought side by side, human and alien openly united. Other human ships saw what Young Mi had done. One by one, they dropped their disguises too. If they were going to die here, they would die as themselves, not as automated systems, not as shadows, as humans. Subin watched from New Earth. She saw her carefully laid plans falling apart. But she also saw something else. Council ships were not retreating. They were rallying around the revealed human vessels, fighting harder, Protecting them. Boram's voice came over the command channel. She was broadcasting to the entire fleet. 400 years ago, humans fled to protect us all. They hid to keep the observers from finding them and spreading to us. They watched over us in secret. They prepared weapons we could use. Today they stand revealed, and we will stand with them. The fleet roared its approval. Species that had never even heard of humans before this day now fought to defend them. The deception was over, but the unity remained. But the battle was still going badly. The observers were too powerful, too numerous. The fleet was being pushed back toward the galactic core. If they lost here, everything was lost. Jiwook had been analyzing the combat data. His hybrid consciousness saw patterns others missed. The observers existed in quantum uncertainty. They were both real and unreal at the same time. Physical weapons could not truly destroy them because they were not fully present in normal space. I understand now, he told Subin over the quantum link. They exist in superposition, multiple states at once. To defeat them, someone must observe them in a specific state, force them to become real so they can be fought. How? Subin demanded. Our sensors observe them constantly. It does not work. Because sensors are not consciousness, Jiwook explained. It requires a mind. But not just any mind. A consciousness distributed across quantum space. Something that can observe them everywhere at once and collapse their quantum state completely. What are you saying? Taehyun asked. He was listening to the conversation from his ship. Delnim, Jiwook said quietly. The AI carries fragments of billions of human minds. It exists throughout the quantum network. It is the only consciousness large enough and distributed enough to observe all the observers simultaneously. Delnim's voice was calm when it spoke. I understand. By focusing my entire attention on the observers across all points in space, I can force them into a single quantum state, make them fully real, make them vulnerable. But the energy required would destroy you, Subin said. The quantum network would collapse. Everything humanity built would be gone. Yes, Delnim agreed. I would end. But is that not what humans have always done? Sacrifice themselves so others might live? I carry their memories, their values, their courage. Let me be human one last time. Silence filled the command channels. Then Haewon spoke. Do it. We will not waste your sacrifice. Delnim's presence touched every ship in the fleet. For one moment, they all felt it. The combined consciousness of billions of humans who had lived and died over centuries, all their hopes, all their dreams, all their determination to survive. Goodbye, Delnim whispered. Thank you for remembering us. The quantum network flared with impossible light. Delnim focused every fragment of consciousness it carried. It observed the observers, not with sensors or instruments, but with pure awareness. It saw them in every location simultaneously. It understood their nature completely, and it chose how they would exist. The observers screamed. For the first time in billions of years, they were forced into single quantum states. They became fully real, fully present, fully vulnerable. The fleet did not hesitate. Every weapon fired at once. Human quantum disruptors, Felkari energy beams, thrust kinetic missiles, Delphine plasma torpedoes, synthesis assembly antimatter charges. All of it struck the observers while they were solid and real. The observers shattered. Their vessels broke apart. Their consciousness scattered. And as they died, something strange happened. The minds they had absorbed over eons were released. Fragments of ancient civilizations burst free. Information older than most stars flooded into space. Then it was over. The last observer vanished. The dimensional breaches closed. Reality stabilized. And the quantum network went dark. Delnim was gone. The fleet drifted in shocked silence. They had won. But the cost was terrible. All across the galaxy, human cloaking systems failed as the network died. Hundreds of hidden habitats were suddenly visible. New Earth, the Dyson swarm, all of it exposed. The secret was completely out now. Humanity had survived. They had protected the galaxy. And they had sacrificed their greatest creation to save everyone. Subin broadcast to the fleet. Her face appeared on every screen. A human face. Real and alive. I am Commander Subin of the Human Defense Fleet. On behalf of all humanity, I welcome you. We have waited 400 years for this moment. We are ready to come home. The response was overwhelming. Ships from every species sent messages of gratitude and wonder. Some wept, some celebrated, some simply stared in awe. Humans were real. Humans were alive, and they had been protecting everyone all along. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. The debate lasted for days. Some species were angry about the deception. Others argued it had been necessary. But in the end, the vote was unanimous. Humanity would be welcomed back. Not as conquerors or saviors, but as equals. As friends, Tae-hyun stood on Mars again. But this time he was not alone. Human workers moved through the old museum, carefully restoring it. Children played in the gardens. Life had returned to the red planet after 4 centuries of silence. Subin found him there. She looked tired but happy. "Strange to be home," she said. 9 generations of my family never saw this place. They lived their whole lives in hiding, but they never forgot where they came from. "I spent 40 years searching for you," Tae-hyun replied. "I always believed you would return, but I imagined it would be simpler, easier." Subin smiled. "Nothing worth doing is ever simple. But we did it. Humans are part of the galaxy again." Boram worked tirelessly to establish diplomatic relations. The Delphine Unity was among the first to open formal embassies with human worlds. She believed in building bridges between species. And now she had the greatest bridge of all to build. Haewon became the head of a joint military command. Human and council forces trained together. They shared technology and tactics. She made sure the sacrifice of those who died fighting observers would never be forgotten. Young Mi recovered from her injuries. She and Haewon remained close. They had fought together, bled together, and now they would build the future together. The first generation to truly know both humans and other species as friends. Ji-wook struggled with what he had become. He was no longer purely synthetic, but he was not organic either. He was something new, a bridge between artificial and biological consciousness. Subin offered him a position studying the fragments of ancient civilizations released when the observers died. He accepted. 5 years after the battle, a new space station opened at the galactic core. It was called Watchpoint Prime, built by all species working together. Its purpose was to ensure nothing like the observers ever threatened the galaxy again. Subin commanded the station. Her crew was mixed. Humans worked alongside Velkari, Thros, Delphine, and synthesis assembly personnel. They were united not by species but by purpose, to watch, to protect, to defend all life in the galaxy. Tae-hyun served as the chief researcher. He no longer studied ruins. He studied living cultures. The galaxy was more diverse now that humans had returned, more vibrant, more hopeful.